Right now, we are absolutely spoiled for choices when it comes to companions in Warframe, which is awesome, right? Beasts, Predasites, Vulpas, Hounds, and Sentinels are all really strong. Basically, you can go with whichever you prefer. What's your flavour of choice? But with all of these bad boys giving you such a wide variety of choices, you might be asking yourself, why would you ever need to use a MOA companion when you can choose from those instead? I honestly rarely see MOAs being mentioned in the same category when it comes to being our best pets, which is a little bit underrated. These bad boys are versatile, offering a mix of offensive, defensive, and utility features depending on whichever precept abilities that you can equip. You can have a nullifier bubble with stasis field, you can have crowd control with anti-grav grenades, or you can have whiplash mine and you can then hack any terminal instantly with the security override precept. Seriously, security override is absolutely incredible. You can be outside of the room where the spy terminal is and the MOA will still pop inside and hack it for you. Now, MOAs can equip a lot of the same weapons that your Sentinels can, right? Robotic weapons. So you can run around with a Tazikor or Verglass Prime to crowd control or try to nuke enemies, death machine rifle, sniper rifle like the Vulpas, or even the Cryotra to mortar enemies from range. Me personally, I bring companions for utility since my Warframe and of course my weapons deal more than enough damage by themselves, so it's nice to have that little bit of additional crowd control if you need it. Now, sticking a Tazikor onto my MOA modded for cold will crowd control entire groups of enemies, but then adding a whiplash mine precept into the mix will also then tether those enemies and pull them into a nice group for me to kill them. Now, with the MOA update, MOAs did get a little bit of love, right? Not the love that Beasts got when it comes to the addition of those loot mods, but some of their precept abilities did get tightened up just that little bit. Anti-grav grenade has had its radius increased from 3 meters to 6 meters, duration has also been increased from 3 seconds to 6, and they've fixed the incorrect damage scaling with mod ranks against enemies with shields. Shockwave actuators for MOAs as well has had its cooldown reduced. The stasis field has had its radius increased from 5 meters to 10 meters, so you've got a much bigger bubble to stand inside, and they've reduced the damage from hitscan weapons inside the bubble, not just projectiles. Also, the whiplash mine for MOAs has had its projectile speed increased and improved targeting so that you can get better tether usage. Now, the pros and the cons of MOAs is that they are incredibly versatile. I prefer them as more of a utility pet, like I said, but they are pretty tanky, especially since you can build your MOA to fit higher health or higher shield values and so on, depending on what you specifically want for your pet. Negatives would be that they can't equip new loot mods. They need standing with Solaris United in order to buy the blueprints to then build their parts, which also means they are resource heavy when you want to build them, and they're not as effective maybe as the robotic counterparts in the Hounds and the Sentinels in terms of, I guess, room clearing or damage. Now, if you're new to Warframe and wondering how you go about getting your own MOA pet, then you will need to head over to Fortuna on Venus. There you will need to visit Legs, the one with the MOA pet standing beside them. Legs is the MOA shop. Depending on your Solaris United rep, which you will need to get as high as possible, you can then buy a model, a bracket, a gyro and a core, and then put them all together to create your MOA. To get the rep, just run bounties until you hit your daily cap. Each one of these MOA parts represents a different, I guess, stat for your MOA. Like, the model is basically what gives you the precept abilities. It also gives you mastery rank per model. Like a para model, which is offensive, will give you the anti-gravity grenade, or the Lamio model, which is a defensive model, will give you the status field precept. You get the idea. Precepts can also be used on any MOA, but in order to unlock them all, I guess you're going to need to craft different MOAs first, unless you can maybe trade for them. Now, the core determines the base stats like health, shields and armor. The gyro further tweaks your health, shield and armor. The bracket determines the MOA's leg design and of course influences the polarity you're going to have on your MOA when you build it. By combining any of these 4 parts, you can design a MOA that is fit for offense, defense, utility, support. Like I said, entirely up to you. So this is currently my MOA DE Kickbot. This is the build. I've gone for Whiplash Mine, which of course is going to give me crowd control by tethering enemies together and then pulling them all into one place so that I can deal with them. Then I've got Redirection for shield capacity, and I've got Vitality. Now, you can get rid of Vitality if you want. I know a lot of players just prefer running with shields. I've gone for Manifold Bond because of course it's going to apply more status effects to enemies. Reinforced Bond because with 1200 shields it's going to give me a 60% increase to fire rate. However, reloading my weapons is also going to give me 150 shield on top of the 1100 shield I have right now. Also, blast shield is going to give me 3000 overshield, so I'm constantly going to have a 60% fire rate increase, so I am with this build. So like I said, you could get rid of vitality if you wanted to. Vacuum, of course, because I need to, I guess, suck up that sweet loot. Then I've gone for Synth Deconstruct because I want to have the chance at dropping health orbs, because I'm going to have equilibrium on most of my Warframes. Animal Instinct, of course, for the loot raider and enemy raider. I can't fit the primed version on in here yet because I'll need to put on one more forma here. And then I've gone for Medi Pet Kit to give my companion 12 health a second, and it's going to reduce the recovery time. Now, of course, you can go for any of the precepts that you want to. If you want to put in a shockwave actuator or stasis field or any of them into your build, that's completely up to you. The same goes for contagious bond or duplex bond or any of the other bonds. Momentous bond, again, completely up to you. I like this because I like using my MOA more for utility than anything else. That's why I've gone for crowd control, I've gone for health orbs, and I've gone for an increase in fire rate. So that's the idea behind my build. Now, of course, if you want to use your MOA for hacking terminals and spy missions, then the only real change you're going to need is the security override. All the rest of it, because chances are you're going to be invisible for the majority of the mission depending on what frame you bring, none of this really matters. So it's more about the security override than anything else. Now, if you're new-ish to Warframe because you've already gotten to Fortuna in order to build this goddamn two-legged robot in the first place, then your build is probably going to be something like this if you don't have a lot of the bond mods, which make up a lot of the builds for Sentinels and I guess for Companions right now. So make sure and get your hands on as many of those bond mods as you possibly can, whether through trading or whether you pick them up at the vendor. But this is a rough, I guess, idea of what a new player-ish MOA would look like. Now, if you're wondering what my Tazakor build is for this footage, since it is crowd controlling so many enemies in one kind of shot, then this is it. It is gone for cold, radiation and corrosive. Cold along with shivering contagion, and the fact that it shoots electric beams means it's going to crowd control pretty much everything that those beams hit. Prime shred and vile acceleration are going to increase the fire rate, meaning I can constantly be crowd controlling. Then on top of that, galvanized chamber, even though the weapon on the MOA doesn't actually trigger this, so the Tazakor won't trigger the effect from galvanized chamber. If I have galvanized chamber equipped on my primary weapon, once that buff kicks in, then it will also kick in for the Tazakor as well. So, while MOAs may not give you extra loot like our beast companions do right now, which is definitely a huge downside, they are still an incredibly versatile pet that you might want to reconsider. Like I said at the start of the video, we have a lot of choices when it comes to our companions right now, and a lot of them work. And remember, this is a free game, which means you can mod everything however the hell you want. Once you're having fun, that is literally all that matters. Have a great day, have a great week, and as always, thanks for watching.